Hi, I'm Jeffrey. For 15 years, I believed I had the perfect marriage with Melissa. We met in college, built careers together, and bought our dream house in the suburbs last year. Everything seemed great until the text that changed everything. Hey, Jeff, you want to grab lunch today? My friend Derek's voice came through my phone as I sat at my desk reviewing quarterly reports. Sure, the usual place at noon, I replied, grateful for the distraction. Perfect. I've got something I need to talk to you about anyway. There was something in his tone that made me uneasy. Everything okay? Just see you at noon, all right? When I arrived at our favorite diner, Derek was already seated in our usual booth, fidgeting with his napkin. So what's up? I asked, sliding into the seat across from him. Derek sighed heavily. Look, I don't know how to say this, but as your friend, I think you need to know. I saw Melissa yesterday at the mall with Ryan. Ryan, her ex from before we met? I frowned. Maybe they just ran into each other. They were holding hands, Jeff, and they were at the travel agency. I overheard them talking about flight options. I shook my head. There must be some explanation. Melissa and I are fine. We just celebrated our anniversary last month. The waitress approached. The usual for you two gentlemen? Yes, thanks, Carol, Derek replied without looking up. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I've lost my appetite. I scrolled through recent texts from Melissa. Nothing unusual, just everyday messages about groceries and dinner plans. I'm sorry, man. I thought you should hear it from me rather than... My phone buzzed with a new message from Melissa. Going on a vacation with Ryan next week. Don't be jealous. It's just to catch up. Love you. I showed Derek the text, my hand trembling. Holy shit, Derek whispered. Jeff, I'm so sorry. She's not even trying to hide it, I said, my voice hollow. 15 years, and she texts me this like she's telling me she's going to the grocery store. What are you going to do? I stared at the message. I don't know yet, but I need to find out exactly what's going on before I confront her. My sister went through something similar last year, Derek said, leaning forward. She hired a private investigator who documented everything, saved her in the divorce. Divorce, I repeated the word, feeling it settle heavily in my chest. I never thought I'd be considering that word in relation to us. Listen, Jeff, I know a good lawyer, Patricia Winters. She helped my sister through everything. Let me give you her number. As Derek wrote down the contact information, Carol returned with our drinks. Everything okay with you boys? She asked, noticing my expression. Just got some unexpected news, I replied. Well, sometimes the worst surprises lead to the best changes, Carol said sympathetically. Let me know if you need anything else. After she left, Derek pushed the paper toward me. Call Patricia today, and don't confront Melissa until you've spoken with her. I nodded, folding the paper carefully and putting it in my wallet. Thanks for telling me, Derek. I guess I need to figure out what my wife has been up to behind my back. Patricia Winters' office was immaculate, with law degrees and certifications lining the walls. She listened carefully as I explained my situation, occasionally making notes. So you've been married for 15 years? And this is the first indication of infidelity? She asked. Yes. Well, maybe not. Looking back, there have been signs. Late nights at work, mysterious phone calls she takes in another room, weekends with girlfriends I've never met. Patricia nodded. Classic signs. Do you have joint accounts? Everything's joint except my retirement account from before we married. And your house? Both our names are on the deed. Patricia tapped her pen against her notepad. Jeffrey, before we proceed, I need to know what you want out of this. I want what's fair, I replied. I worked hard for everything we have. Then we need evidence. I recommend hiring Thomas Reed. He's discreet and thorough. 3 days later, I met Thomas at a coffee shop across town. I've done some preliminary digging, he said, sliding a folder across the table. Your wife has been seeing Ryan Collins for at least 6 months. I flipped through the photos. Melissa and Ryan entering a hotel, having dinner at an expensive restaurant, kissing in his car. There's more, Thomas continued. I found joint credit card statements showing purchases for lingerie, hotel rooms, and 2 first-class tickets to Bali departing next Tuesday. Our joint account? I asked, my stomach churning. Yes, she spent nearly $15,000 on this affair in the last 3 months. I closed the folder, unable to look at more. What about Ryan? What's his story? Divorced twice. Both times for infidelity. Works as a financial advisor but has significant gambling debts. I suspect he's more interested in your wife's access to your money than anything else. Does she know about his gambling? Thomas shrugged. Hard to say, but I found something else concerning. He pulled out another document. 2 weeks ago, she met with a lawyer, Martin Greenberg. He specializes in high-conflict divorces. She's planning to divorce me? I felt like I'd been punched. It appears so. And judging by Greenberg's reputation, she's planning to take you for everything. That evening, I met with my colleague Sarah, who worked in our company's financial department. Jeff, this is completely inappropriate, she protested when I asked for her help. Sarah, she's planning to blindside me with a divorce after emptying our accounts. I just need to know what options I have to protect myself. Sarah sighed. I shouldn't be telling you this, but there's a clause in your investment portfolio that allows for emergency separation of joint assets with evidence of financial misconduct. It's meant for cases of identity theft or fraud. Would unauthorized spending on an affair qualify? Technically, yes, but you'd need documentation and approval from the portfolio manager. Who's that again? Henderson, Michael Henderson. The next day, I sat across from Michael Henderson, evidence spread across his desk. This is highly unusual, Jeffrey, he said, reviewing the credit card statements. I understand, but as you can see, these expenditures were made without my knowledge or consent for the explicit purpose of conducting an extramarital affair. And you have proof the travel tickets were purchased for this purpose? I handed him the private investigator's report. Yes, complete with photographic evidence. Michael whistled softly. Well, this certainly meets the criteria for financial misconduct. I'll approve the emergency separation and transfer your portion of the joint investments into a secure individual account. How quickly can this happen? I can process it immediately. It will be complete before close of business tomorrow. I waited until Sunday evening, 2 days before their planned trip. Melissa was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I walked in and set the folder of evidence on the counter. What's this? She asked, wiping her hands on a towel. Why don't you take a look? I replied, keeping my voice steady. She opened the folder, her face paling as she flipped through the photos. You had me followed? She gasped, outrage replacing shock. That's what you're upset about? Not the fact that you've been cheating on me for months? It's not what it looks like, she stammered. Really? Because it looks like you've been sleeping with your ex-boyfriend, spending our money on him, and planning a luxury vacation together. Ryan and I reconnected as friends. It just evolved. Into you spending $15,000 of our money on him? Her eyes narrowed. You checked our accounts? Of course I did, after I got that text about your vacation. You're overreacting. It's just a trip. Stop lying, Melissa. I know everything. I know about the hotels, the dinners, the lingerie. I even know about your meeting with Martin Greenberg. Her expression shifted, calculating now. Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Ryan. And yes, I was planning to ask for a divorce when I got back. Why wait? Why not just tell me? Because I needed time to get things in order. Ryan helped me realize I've outgrown this marriage. Ryan helped you realize? The same Ryan who's been divorced twice for cheating? The Ryan who has massive gambling debts? Melissa's eyes widened. That's not true. It is true, every word. He's using you, Melissa. Using you to get to our money. You don't know anything about him, she shouted. Ryan loves me in a way you never did. Loves your access to money, you mean? The doorbell rang, interrupting our argument. That's probably Ryan, Melissa said, moving toward the door. I asked him to come over. We might as well get everything out in the open. She opened the door, but instead of Ryan, Derek and Patricia stood there. What's this? Melissa demanded. Why is your friend here with a woman I don't know? This is Patricia Winters, my attorney, I explained, and they're here as witnesses. Witnesses to what? To me serving you with divorce papers. Patricia stepped forward, handing Melissa an envelope. Mrs. Anderson, these are divorce papers citing adultery and financial misconduct. Melissa ripped open the envelope, scanning the documents. Financial misconduct? What are you talking about? The $15,000 you spent on your affair, I replied. Plus the separate accounts you've been setting up. You can't prove that. Actually, we can, Patricia interjected. We have statements, receipts, and witness testimony. Melissa turned to me, her face contorted with anger. You planned this. You set me up. No, Melissa, you did this. I'm just protecting myself. I'll fight this, she hissed. I'll take half of everything we have. That might be difficult, Patricia said calmly. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, Mr. Anderson has already secured his portion of your joint assets. You what? Melissa lunged at me, grabbing my shirt. You had no right. Derek stepped between us. Melissa, don't make this worse for yourself. Get out of my house, she screamed. Actually, I said quietly, as of yesterday, this house is in my name only. Melissa's face went white. That's impossible. Remember when you asked me to refinance last month? The paperwork you signed transferred your interest to me in exchange for taking on the additional mortgage liability. I never signed that. You did. You just didn't read it before signing. The courtroom was quiet as the judge reviewed the final agreements. Melissa sat with her attorney, glaring at me across the room. Your Honor, Martin Greenberg began, my client contests the division of assets is grossly unfair. Mr. Greenberg, Judge Thompson replied, I've reviewed the evidence of financial misconduct, including Miss Anderson's unauthorized expenditures and the documentary evidence of her affair. The division stands. After the hearing, Melissa approached me in the corridor. Jeff, can we talk? Her voice was softer now, pleading. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill, Melissa. What you did was a choice, multiple choices over months. I know, and I'm sorry, so sorry. Ryan's gone. He disappeared as soon as the money stopped. I see now what you were trying to tell me. Convenient timing for this realization. Please, Jeff, 15 years together has to mean something. We could try counseling, start over. Patricia touched my arm. Jeffrey, you don't have to engage with this. I know, I replied, then turned back to Melissa. The answer is no. There's no starting over from this level of betrayal. But where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I have nothing. That's not my problem anymore. You chose this path when you decided our marriage meant nothing. Is this about revenge, making me suffer? No, Melissa. This is about consequences. You planned to leave me with nothing. Instead, you're the one who ended up with nothing. 6 months later, Derek, Sarah, and I sat at our regular table at Carol's Diner. So, the house sold? Sarah asked, stirring her coffee. Final paperwork went through yesterday, I confirmed. I'm officially free of the last tie to my old life. And Melissa? Derek asked cautiously. Last I heard, she's working as a receptionist and sharing an apartment with 2 roommates. Do you ever regret how things ended? Sarah asked. I considered the question. I regret that my marriage wasn't what I thought it was. I regret the years I spent with someone who could betray me so completely. But I don't regret protecting myself when I discovered the truth. What's next for you? Derek asked. I'm taking some time for myself, maybe travel a bit. The divorce settlement and house sale left me in a good position to start fresh. You deserve it, Sarah said, smiling warmly. You know what I learned from all this? I said, looking between my friends. Trust has to be earned, and once broken, some things can't be fixed. But that doesn't mean you can't build something new and better. Carol approached with our check. You 3 doing okay? Better than okay, I replied. We're celebrating new beginnings. Good for you, Jeffrey, she said, patting my shoulder. Sometimes the worst endings lead to the best beginnings. I smiled, realizing she'd echoed almost the same words she'd said the day I'd learned of Melissa's betrayal. Sometimes wisdom comes from unexpected places, just like the strength to stand up for yourself when it matters most.